The battle between the camps of Diddy and the man who is suing him for $30 million heats up. According to a new report, Diddy's team is digging into the character and background of Rodney Jones Jr., aka Lil Rod, saying he has a history of troubling arrests, which wouldn't make him the best witness. But Lil Rod's attorney is slamming Diddy's camp, calling it a fishing expedition to smear Jones's name. Diddy, whose real name is Sean Combs, is being sued by Jones for $30 million. In the federal lawsuit filed back in February, Jones accused the music mogul of sexually harassing, drugging, and threatening him for more than a year. The suit also alleges the Bad Boy founder is a leader of a criminal enterprise that would qualify as a widespread dangerous criminal sex trafficking organization. Among the allegations, the suit states Diddy forced Jones to procure sex workers and pressured him to engage in unwelcome sex acts with them, and that Combs gave laced alcoholic drinks to people who attended his parties, including minors. Jones, who worked with Diddy as a producer on his most recent album, titled The Love Album Off the Grid, says the hip-hop mogul repeatedly sexually assaulted him while they worked on the album from September 2022 to November 2023. Jones alleges Diddy would grope his genitals and groomed him into having sex. He alleged Diddy would walk around naked in front of Jones, and in one instance, Jones believes he was drugged and raped during one of Diddy's parties back in February 2023. He allegedly woke up dizzy, naked, in bed with Combs and two sex workers. Diddy, through his attorney, denied the accusations, calling Lil Rod nothing more than a liar who filed the $30 million lawsuit, shamelessly looking for an undeserved payday. And now, months after the suit was filed in federal court, Diddy's camp is reportedly digging into Jones's background and character. According to a report by Page Six, Jones was reportedly charged twice with domestic assault, once in 2009 and once in 2014. The report also reveals he was charged with misdemeanor sexual assault in 2005, but all of those charges were reportedly dismissed. But in 2003, when the now 38-year-old Jones was just 17 years old, he was reportedly convicted of reckless homicide. When the outlet questioned Jones's lawyer about the conviction, Tyrone Blackburn, who represents Rodney Jones Jr., said, quote, "Mr. Jones's July 2003 reckless homicide occurred when he was 17 years old. He was driving a vehicle with his cousin in the passenger seat. The police pulled him over, but he was afraid and drove off. It was pretty typical behavior for a young black boy in Chicago when pulled over by the police. As a result, he totaled the vehicle and his cousin, who was his best friend, died." Blackburn added Jones didn't have adequate legal representation at the time and pleaded guilty. Blackburn says Jones has to live with the guilt of the death of his best friend and family member for the rest of his life.
An aggressive and assertive lawyer in a matter that has a very, high public profile is going to be looking for any ammunition they have to poke holes in the allegations themselves and in the credibility of the plaintiff, of the alleger. And so that's certainly what's going on here. Now, again, I can't form a judgment as to whether those credibility concerns are valid or not valid. I mean, that's the sort of thing that often gets decided on a witness stand. But to the extent that something that a matter gets dismissed or settled before trial, this is a very high-profile way of joining the battle.
Jonathan Handel is an entertainment attorney. He says it's not at all surprising Diddy's camp would fire back at Jones by digging up prior charges.
I would say that that somebody who has access to, essentially indefinite resources, whether they're a celebrity, probably especially if they're a celebrity, but even if they were, say, a business leader or someone who's less famous but nonetheless has deep pockets, that coming out guns blazing when they're facing a multi-tens of millions of dollars litigation is not at all surprising. It's very much a contact sport, as it were, not to make light of it, but it is a contact business, litigation in this sort of context.
But Handel explains if Jones's lawsuit were to ever go to trial, his prior charges might likely not be used in court.
Prior charges that didn't result in conviction, as I say, probably would not be admissible, and there certainly would be a fight over that. There's always a tension between trying to show a tendency or character based on prior incidents versus, wait a minute, this trial is about specific allegations, not every potential allegation back and forth. So, confining the trial to what it's actually about is the one principle, but allowing in enough evidence to allow a decision maker, a jury, or a judge, as the case may be, to form a judgment on somebody's character and credibility. Credibility, in particular, is the other principle. The reckless homicide, because it's a felony and because it's a conviction, does seem more likely to be admitted. Although, I think Lil Rod's counsel would argue, look, this doesn't bear on his credibility. Okay, this was not a crime of like fraud or other or forgery, other sort of subterfuge or perjury. Obviously, this was a crime that involved fleeing from the police when he was much younger, and the car crashing and his cousin dying, again according to the reports that we've read in the press. So there'll be an argument even over that. It'll be and I don't know. I'm not sure which jurisdiction the lawsuit was filed in, but we'd have to know specifically which jurisdiction and research the law of that jurisdiction on an issue like this, because these are the kinds of issues that do differ from state to state and from state to federal practice.
As you've just seen, it's so important to know who you're surrounding yourself with. That's where our sponsor of this story, truthfinder.com, comes in. You might be wondering, what is Truthfinder? Well, it's all in the name. Truthfinder is one of the largest public record search services, not just across the nation, but the world. Their goal is simple: to help people like you and me learn the truth about the people in our lives. So how it works is simple. You go to their website, truthfinder.com, and say, for instance, you have a date, or you met a new friend that's acting super sus or a little shady. You type in their name, and within minutes, you get access to reports that includes info like numbers, addresses, but also any previous arrests and criminal convictions. And if you're running my name, I think it goes without saying, but my Truthfinder record is sparkling clean. I mean, imagine not having this information at your fingertips and you met someone in real life not realizing all the skeletons they have in their closet, or maybe you need that extra reassurance they say who they say they are. So right now, Law and Crime viewers can get 50% off confidential background reports at truthfinder.com/LCnews and access information about almost anyone. And if you need that reminder, that's truthfinder.com/LCnews for 50% off your first month. And while Jones's charges stem from more than 10 years ago, the charges have nothing to do with the Diddy allegations and don't show a pattern that would be related to the case.
The fact that it was quite some time ago. Secondly, the fact that the misdemeanors you allude to were dismissed, as I understand it, did not result in convictions. And thirdly, the fact that Lil Rod's not per se on trial. So the prior bad acts of his, arguably, and again, this depends on the state, arguably would have to relate to his credibility as a witness. If someone, for example, had a pattern of falsely accusing other people, demonstrably falsely accusing other people of sexually predatory behavior, sexual assault, that presumably in many jurisdictions, if not perhaps most, would be admissible. But that's not what his prior conviction is about at all. His prior conviction is about a reckless, basically sort of grossly negligent or reckless homicide, a killing that did not involve falsehood, and did not even involve intent to kill. So there would definitely be an argument on Lil Rod's behalf that, look, this was a terrible thing that happened, and he was found, responsible for this, criminally responsible. But how exactly does this relate to his credibility? It doesn't, would be the argument. Now, there may be precedent in the given jurisdiction that rules that in or out. There may not be. It may be an issue that ends up, going up on appeal. It really just all kind of depends. Homicide's obviously a serious matter, but when it's reckless, not intentional, and when it doesn't involve credibility, and the issue here is would be the person's credibility, maybe it doesn't come in at all.
But could the suit be settled out of court or go to trial?
Well, I think it could go to trial. I think that the answer of whether it would get settled really depends on facts that we don't have. Um, did he do this or not? We don't know. What sort of evidence corroborating that he did it or corroborating that he didn't do it is out there? Are there surveillance videotapes? Are there credit card and cell phone records that prove that he was that the two of them were in each other's presence at the same time, at the alleged time? When was this alleged to have happened? Or is there evidence that proves that they were not in the same place at the time or times that this behavior is alleged to have happened? Are there other people who claim that this happened to them, and who are willing to testify, or other people who say that nothing of the sort ever happened to them, and that they were, people like Diddy have people that work in their homes and offices and who see a lot of what goes on. Are those people going to testify? What are the, or be deposed or submit declarations? What are they going to say? Are there any former employees of Diddy who may be less, constrained in what they say, who are going to substantiate either Diddy's position or Lil Rod's? And so I think that's, it's very hard to answer in advance. Will something settle? That almost, presumes a level potentially of guilt, of culpability, and I don't have a presumption either way. And I think we should remember that accusations are not proof, and neither are denials. There's a process here, and we hope that the court process that we have in this country, does its best to bring out the truth.
Diddy's lawyers most recently filed a motion to dismiss certain claims made against him in another sexual assault lawsuit. Could the same happen with Rodney Jones' suit? Handel says not likely.
A motion to dismiss would probably be hard because this is not a paper case. This is not a case about documents. This is a case about alleged conduct. Mm. And so to dismiss the case at an early stage, you'd have to find that there simply is no credible, even potentially credible basis for believing either that these things happened, that Lil Rod alleges, or that the things that he alleges, even if they happened, do not give rise to liability. And that latter part certainly does not seem to be the case. I mean, if he was groped, if he was, touched, repeatedly and sexually and all of that, that would strongly appear to give rise to liability if indeed those things happened. And so at the stage of summary judgment, the judge really, in general, has to take the allegations in the complaint as true for the sake of argument, for the sake of the judgment on the summary judgment motion. The allegations were much more down to earth, so to speak. And so I don't see this as likely to be resolvable in a summary judgment motion. In either direction, by the way. If Lil Rod were to bring a motion for summary judgment, again, his allegations are not proof. and neither are the denials. And, unless there were, even if there were photographs showing certain things happening, um, it could be argued that, one could argue on the other side, well, that was consensual. Um, so, and I haven't heard any allegation that there is any evidence of that sort. So I don't see this resolvable on the summary judgment in either direction.
In addition to Rodney Jones' suit, Diddy is still facing 3 other sexual misconduct lawsuits. He has vehemently denied all allegations made against him. Reporting for Law&Crime, I'm Elizabeth Millner.